This is Dave from the Wonderware Online team again, and in this video I'm going to show using a HTTP post to push time series data into Wonderware Online. So I'll start off here on the administration page of Wonderware Online InSight, and I'm going to go into the data sources configuration area. I won't use the demo data source from my previous video, but instead I'll click on Add, make a new CSV data source, which I'll give a name, post demo, and then OK to have the data source created. This time around we'll focus on the second tab of this dialog for the HTTPS endpoint. Two properties here. The first one, this is the URL that we're going to send our message to, that we'll make our post to. And the second one here is what's known as the bearer token. This basically is like a password. Keep it safe and secure, don't email it around, things like that. It identifies the solution and the data source that we're going to put our data under. Also at the bottom we have the data sample file and the metadata sample file. Big surprise, they're the same format as we used with the CSV, the drag and drop. So I'll leave that dialog open and I'll switch across to the external tool that I'm going to use for making my HTTP post, and that is this tool called Postman. There's a ton of options here for what you can use, but really it's any tool that can make a valid HTTP post. I've gone with a fairly well known one here. Most devs know this tool, Postman. Other common options might be something like Cool, or of course you could do it by hand using C# or Java or something like that. The reason I like Postman, it's nice and simple and it's great for demos because it lets me focus on the properties you've got to supply. I don't have to worry about syntax, things like that. Now the basic structure we want for our post is the endpoint will be the URL and the token needs to go into the header, goes in as the authorization element. In Postman, what I really need to do is I'm going to make a post. If I go back and I click on this button here to copy the endpoint to the clipboard, and I can paste that into Postman like so, and if I go back and I hit this one here, will let me copy out the bearer token, copies that to the clipboard, and in Postman I'll go to the headers. The key that I'm going to use is authorization, and I'll paste in my token there. There's also an optional element I can put in the header, which is x-filename. And really this just helps you identify things coming in. We don't use the file name for anything, so I'm just going to put it in here as HTTP demo. Now I mentioned you might be doing this from Java or C#. What I can do with Postman is I can actually get a look at what those other options might look like. So if I was doing it in C# with something like REST sharp, pretty straightforward stuff. I need a new REST client, and I'm using my endpoint here as my URL. I then set up a new request, which as you can see is a post, and then I'm just popping in the bearer token that we copied from the dialog. That goes in for the authorization element in the header, and I've also put in something for the x-filename. And then obviously I still need to put my body in, but to make it work from C#, you'd then just send or execute the request. Now we have the URL and the header sorted, we need to set the body. In Postman what I'll do is go to the body. With the December 2016 update for Wonderware Online, we support wide format CSV files. So all I'll do is I'll say that it's binary, and then I'll choose the file that I want to use. This is the same file I used in the drag and drop video. It could be one I've downloaded, it could be one I've set up separately. I just choose that file and I'm basically ready to go. So now that I have a completed post, I've got my URL set, I've got my headers set, I've got my body set containing my file, I really just need to hit send, which I do, and after a while I should see my result code come back, status of 200 OK, which means it worked. Great. If there'd been an error of some sort, I'd get back one of the usual web error codes, 500 or something like that, and it'd also get some information in there about what the error was. For example, if the file was in a bad format that Wonderware Online couldn't recognize. If I go back to Wonderware Online, the data sources page, I'll close that dialog and wait for it to refresh. I see that my post demo is there, and I can see that my upload has happened just a minute ago. If I click on this little clock icon here, I'll get a history of uploads or posts going to that data source, and I can see my post with the file name that I set and a nice little status indicator. Again, if there'd been a problem, I'd get an error or a warning icon which I could click on, and that would give me details of the problem. Finally, if I go in and do a search now, I'll search on the word post, which is how I named my data source. I can see that I've got my couple of tags that have come in. If I go and add those to a chart, like so, and choose a larger time frame because I had this file for a while now, I'll see that they've got some data in there. And that's basically it. How to use an external tool to push data into Wonderware Online using HTTP posts. Hope this is helpful to you. Thanks for watching.